So fruits, just to let you know, yes, they're high in nutrients, but they do contain fructose, which is sugar. So you want to eat them in small amounts. Eat them alone, okay, or don't eat them, because eating them on top of other food is a problem in terms of gut issues. You might want to look at low fructose fruits. So I've given you a list here. Vegetables, we want to stick mostly to the above ground vegetables, not the below ground vegetables, because below ground vegetables are much higher in starch and therefore release their sugars more quickly into the bloodstream, which means more chance. And I'm not saying don't eat below ground vegetables. That's not what I'm saying. Vegetables in general are not really going to do too much. Although obviously when we get into looking at the keto diet for menopause, a cup of, if you put dice a sweet potato and throw it in a cup, that's probably just more than a full day's worth of carbs. So even vegetables can be somewhat kind of high in carbs. But above ground vegetables you're fine with. You can go wild with those. In terms of grains, you definitely want to be choosing whole grains. Processed versions tend to be much higher sugar release foods. Breakfast cereals are a nightmare from a point of view of absorbing blood sugar very quickly. In particular, your extruded grains, that's just your more processed grains. Something like oats would be a better option, especially if it's rolled oats and not oatmeal. And ideally, my suggestion is that you just reduce the proportion of grains in the diet. I'm not saying take them out altogether. And if you've done any of my workshops on gut health, you'll know that I do promote some use of the grains in the diet. Simple sugars are really just, the only ones I recommend are natural alternatives to sugar. So your stevias, your erythritol, xylitol, monk fruit. Generally, these don't create a spiking experience. So you can have the sweetness without the blood sugar problems. I wouldn't touch artificial sweeteners. They are chemicals and they have to be embedded into some kind of food that can be added, or something that can be added as a powder or whatever it is put into is a bulking agent, and that tends to be maltodextrose or dextrose, which is sugar. Raw honey is great. It's a beautiful natural foodstuff, but also a concentrated sugar. So actually, I think an example, if I give you one, is half a teaspoon of honey is about the same carbs as a banana or a sweet potato, I think, if I remember correctly. So it's quite high.